Tonight, the inquiry into the fate of the Titan began today with some bombshell testimony. OceanGate's former chief engineer tells the Coast Guard hearing he was fired for raising safety concerns about the vessel.
An offshore exploration well called Persephone was being talked about internationally, perhaps up to 3 billion barrels of oil. So was it a success? I'm Terry Roberts. I'll have that story coming up.
There's a lot of economic development reasons and jobs that go along with nuclear, and I think Newfoundland has an opportunity to look at those things.
The province will soon need more power, but NL Hydro says right now it won't consider the nuclear option.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. The United States Coast Guard's hearings into what caused the Titan submersible to implode began in South Carolina today, more than a year after the tragedy. Here and Now's Heather Gillis has the highlights.
The big news out of the Titan hearings today, the man who was OceanGate's lead engineer says he wouldn't get in Titan for a dive, even with CEO Stockton Rush at the helm of the sub. Tony Neeson was the first witness at the U.S. Coast Guard's Marine Board investigation. He was the director of engineering at OceanGate from 2016 to 2019. He told the hearing he often had disagreements with Rush and forced him to put the word experimental in the Titan passenger waiver. Neeson testified that in April 2019, before a dive, a pilot found a crack in Titan's hull that made it unsalvageable. A dive to the Titan was scheduled for later that summer, but it was canceled because Neeson says he would not sign off on it, and then that he was fired because of it. OceanGate told its mission specialists or passengers that the trip was canceled instead due to issues with a support ship. A year before that, in April 2018, during testing in the Bahamas, Titan was hit by lightning. Neeson testified all electronics had to be replaced and believes that the strike compromised the hull, but says that Stockton Rush said, quote, "It'll be okay." Now, this inquiry is coming more than a year after the days-long search for Titan, which captivated the world. The unclassed experimental sub went missing on the way to the Titanic wreck, which is almost 380 nautical miles off St. John's, and it prompted an international search. Titan was last heard from at 10:47 on June 18th. It imploded, killing all 5 on board, including OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush. Today, Neeson told the hearing that smaller prototypes of Titan had imploded during testing. He said that Rush had no desire to class Titan, but that certifying it may not have prevented the accident. The board also heard that Titan was left out in the elements outside, uncovered on a dock in St. John's from July 2022 to February 2023. But those weren't the only issues with the sub. In its 2021 season, Titan experienced 70 equipment issues. Once with its dome falling off in 2022, it had about 50 issues, including its tail being torn off. Then in May 2023, its tail ripped off again when its platform sunk here in Holyrood during high seas. And then in the days before it imploded, it became detached from its launch platform, causing it and passengers to be slammed around for about an hour. Hearings will continue over the next 2 weeks with about 24 witnesses from former OceanGate employees, industry experts, and search and rescue personnel. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, it's called Persephone, and it was generating high hopes in the energy sector. But the companies behind this expensive oil exploration campaign now admit the results did not meet expectations. Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports.
This is the Stena Drillmax at anchor outside of Bay Bulls last week. For weeks this summer, it was probing the depths in a remote and inhospitable area of the North Atlantic. It's called Persephone C-54, in waters 3,000 meters deep, 500 kilometers northeast of St. John's, in an area called the Orphan Basin. It's a new deepwater frontier for oil exploration. The Persephone well had garnered international attention, with one industry news publication saying it could potentially hold up to 3 billion barrels of oil. A commercial discovery would have reinvigorated the local energy sector, perhaps generated talk of another producing oil field, to be spoken of in the same breath as Bay du Nord, the on-again, off-again project in the Flemish Pass. But a gusher would also have triggered a strong response from those leading the fight against climate change, those who say the focus should be on clean energy and not carbon-emitting oil projects. ExxonMobil Canada hired this drillship to probe the depths of Persephone, along with its partner Qatar Energy, a newcomer to Newfoundland and Labrador's offshore. It's a costly process, needing a fleet of supply vessels and helicopters. Exxon is already a giant here, operator of both the Hebron and Hibernia oil fields, two of the 4 legacy fields in the Jeanne d'Arc Basin. ExxonMobil is forecasting the global demand for oil to remain strong, exceeding more than 100 million barrels per day through 2050. That's despite the global shift toward renewable energy. So it's not giving up its search for new discoveries, including here in offshore Newfoundland. But late last week, ExxonMobil said all this effort and expense did not pay off. The ship drilled to the planned depth at Persephone, but there was no evidence of commercial hydrocarbons, and the oil companies released this ship from its contract on September 8th. It's not a shocker. They're called Wildcat wells for a reason. They're successful about 10% of the time. ExxonMobil is proposing to drill 5 exploratory wells in this area of the Orphan Basin over the next decade. It's not known what the results of this first well will have on those plans. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, still with energy news, NL Hydro says this province will need more power soon as electric vehicles and furnaces become more common. So the Public Utilities Board wants to know whether the company will consider nuclear power, even though it's prohibited by provincial legislation. The CBC's Abby Cole reports.
Newfoundland and Labrador needs more energy. Demand is rising, and so is the pressure to move away from fossil fuels. There's plans for more hydro. Wind proposals are active. And now the Public Utilities Board is asking NL Hydro if they'd consider nuclear energy. Nuclear is currently prohibited by provincial legislation, perhaps making this an odd request. But the Canadian Nuclear Association says it could be an option.
Nuclear power technologies now can range from very small to those larger ones that you know about, and in a very small footprint. So it makes it attractive for all jurisdictions, and it would be very attractive to Newfoundland. Not to mention the fact that I think you are also sitting on some really good uranium stores, which means that the fuel is available in Newfoundland both as a means of meeting its own needs, but also exporting to other parts of Canada and around the world.
NL Hydro expects to see energy needs increase by 16% over current levels by 2034. In a review, the company did look at the potential for nuclear. Nuclear options were screened out due to high capital costs, and Hydro says it's not the right fit for the province's electrical grid. In a statement to CBC, it says, nuclear plants are designed for base load operation and, as such, have a steady output. This does not match our province's current supply requirements, as we are looking for solutions that can provide dynamic amounts of supply for peaking or emergency purposes. Gorman disagrees, saying mixing nuclear with other power sources is the best way to produce low-cost energy.
Doing an in-depth analysis would show that the cost of nuclear that's being used in other jurisdictions like Ontario, for example, has proven to be one of the lowest cost forms of creating electricity. So I think, in short, each province should look at the full suite of technologies in depth, and I would encourage Newfoundland Hydro to do the same thing, so that Newfoundland has a full understanding of what mix it should put on its system.
NL Hydro is not slamming the door on nuclear power. It says if costs come down, technology evolves, and the province allows it, it will consider nuclear power in the future. Abby Cole, CBC News, St. John's.
We have an update tonight on the fate of a Hopedale man featured in a CBC story about sentencing circles in Labrador. Johannes Semyuk pleaded guilty to manslaughter in the death of his brother in 2020, and earlier this year took responsibility in front of a circle of family and community members. While serving his sentence, Semyuk was charged with threatening his partner, the mother of 3 of his children. Regan Burden reports.
The court in Happy Valley Goose Bay heard that Semyuk believed his partner was unfaithful to him while he was in jail and threatened to kill her and himself. Semyuk told one of the guards that if he couldn't be with her, then nobody would. Both a nurse at the Labrador Correctional Center and his partner said he had made similar comments in the past. Between June and July, Semyuk called her over 300 times. Judge Jennifer Standen had considered banning him from returning to Hopedale, where his partner and 3 of his children live. But, despite Semyuk's threats, said that being in Hopedale, where he has a connection to the land, is important. Standen did issue a no-contact order and said that access to his children needs to be arranged through a third party. Standen acknowledged the generational trauma he experienced, including the loss of his parents and siblings, and the abuse that he was exposed to as a child. Semyuk broke down in tears when Standen spoke and nodded his head in agreement that he needed to model acceptable behavior in relationships for his daughters. The Labrador Correctional Center is closed for asbestos remediation. In the meantime, Semyuk is in the RCMP lockup. He told CBC his mental and physical health were suffering there as he spends 23 hours a day in an 8x10 cell with no socialization with other inmates, no outdoor time, no video calls with family, and no programming. Standen gave Semyuk enhanced credit for the days in the lockup. In a statement to CBC, the Department of Justice says that the RCMP has jurisdiction over rules and regulations while inmates are at the lockup, and that it has connected inmates to psychological and medical services. Standen sentenced Semyuk to 60 days for the threats. Regan Burden, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
Well, to an uplifting story now. The Terry Fox Run in St. John's raised funds and spirits yesterday. Have a look.
The event today is just, it's been done every year for 44 years. And so we're coming together to run and raise money for cancer research. That's what it's for. So here in Newfoundland, we've raised over 80,000, and in St. John's we've raised about 49,000, more than we raised last year, so we're excited about that. I do cancer research as my day job, so the money is very important. It's going straight to pay for people's research, and this is not just like research, this is research that's going to improve what we know, improve how cancer can be treated, managed, like prevented, all that sort of thing, a lot.
Well, both of us are cancer survivors. If you see anybody wearing these red shirts, it means they're part of Terry's team, which means we are cancer survivors. So we are here to support the run as we are every year.
Everybody's affected by cancer. The stats are 1 and 2. I've had family. There's 6 of us that usually do the run. 3 of us are now survivors. So it's great to come out. It's a great community involvement, and it shows how much one Canadian can make a difference. Terry Fox is an inspiration all around the world. Because if it wasn't for the Marathon of Hope, who knows how many cancer survivors we would have, how many Terry's team members would be here today. And today, it shows that we're living proof.
Yes, exactly.
The Marathon of Hope is wonderful. So we got to keep the movement going.
Yes.
That was Terry's last wish.
Targa, Newfoundland has returned to the streets of Gander. We stopped by to take a look.
Extremely positive, and as you know, it's the negative voices that are usually heard the loudest, but I haven't heard any.
And we'll have that story coming up.
Oh, we've certainly seen some warm weather today for parts of the province. Most of us are going to see that stick around. It is going to come with some shower chances, though. I'll get into all the details coming up.
Ashley's here now with the weather, and things are definitely cooling down. Definitely time to bring out the heavier coats, even maybe the scarves. It was pretty chilly.
It was chilly this morning. Through the weekend as well, temperatures definitely feeling more fall-like. We've rebounded quite nicely today. Let's take a look at what's going on this afternoon. We've got an area of low pressure to the north there. And with that is that associated warm front, and we are in that southerly flow, and that is bringing some of that milder air in there. But we started in St. John's this morning anywhere from 3 to 4 degrees. But we've certainly changed into the afternoon hours. Not a whole lot going on weather-wise, just some showers working their way towards the northern peninsula at the moment. But there is that southerly flow that I was talking about that is bringing some of that warm weather. In fact, unseasonably warm weather in some cases. So live look outside right now. Earlier, the camera was shaking a little bit, and you can see the leaves rustling. It was certainly windy. We're seeing those winds gusts out of the west, anywhere from 40 to as much as 60 kilometers per hour. Mercury 19 degrees, feels like 21 with that humidex. And really, we're not seeing a whole lot of gusty wind except for areas along the northeast coast. St. Anthony reporting 56 kilometers per hour, Twillingate 39 kilometers per hour. And we'll expect to see this breezy wind continue through the overnight in the east. Temperatures right now still beautiful out there in Gander, 23 degrees, 21 in Twillingate right now. And we've got some mild temperatures up across the Big Land as well. Happy Valley, Goose Bay and Lab City currently sitting at 21 degrees. But like I said, we've got that warm front, a couple of showers working their way towards the northern peninsula. Some of them have some embedded heavier showers. So we're expecting, or I'm expecting that to track across the island through the night tonight. So expect either partly to mostly cloudy skies with that chance of showers ending in the west, but we'll see them move through central and eastern Newfoundland as the night rolls through, and some shower potentials as well for western portions of Labrador as well as the north coast. Temperatures tonight are going to be mild considering what we started at this morning, anywhere from 12 to 16 degrees across the island, 9 to 13 across the Big Land. And again, those winds a bit brisk in the east. Southwesterly still though, 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. And as we head into tomorrow, not a whole lot going on. We're still looking at a mix of sun and cloud through the afternoon, at least to start. And then as the day goes on, some clouds on the increase, especially for the west coast and up across Labrador as well. So still looking unsettled with the chance of showers. And then those shower chances will become a little bit more numerous as we head towards the evening for the west coast. And then as we head into the overnight through central and eastern Newfoundland, you are looking at some better chances of showers as well. But overall, this mild air is going to continue for a little while, at least a couple more days as we head towards midweek. And then we start to see a change in the weather, a change in the pattern, and that is going to drop the temperatures for most of us. So for tomorrow, we are looking at northwesterlies, somewhere between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. And again, the chance of a few showers, but not till later in the day. Some of us could be seeing those temperatures in the 24 to 26 degree range through the day. So certainly well above where we should be sitting this time of year. Typically, we're sitting around 17, and that will be the story through central as well. I'd say a pretty beautiful September day. And like I said, it's going to continue for a few more days. 20 degrees in Twillingate, 24 in Terra Nova, 23 in Harbour Breton. As you head towards the west coast, again, your clouds will be on the increase. You'll notice the winds will shift, though, to more northwesterly winds, anywhere from 15 to 25 kilometers per hour. Northern Peninsula, you're looking at a beautiful day with the temperatures, and a little cooler for southeastern portions of Labrador. So 17 to 19 degrees. Winds light, though, through the day, and pretty beautiful up across Labrador temperature-wise. 18 to 23 as your daytime highs. Again, unsettled, sunshine, but you will see some showers move in late day with about 19 degrees for Makkovik, 20 in Lab City. And for you, as far as your long-range forecast goes, again, you're looking at the warm air continuing. We will see some cool downs as we head towards the weekend, and I will get into that forecast when we come back a little later in the show.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, Targa drivers had a busy weekend. CBC reporter Jeremy Eaton and videographer Danny Arsenault tried to keep up through St. John's, Witless Bay, Bay Bulls, and into Gander. Have a look.
We've literally been planning this for a year, and there's so much preparation and so much thought went into it. What kind of clothes we were going to wear, what kind of car we were going to take. We actually had an idea of taking a different car, but that didn't work out. And here we are. It did break down pretty early on. Thankfully, it didn't break down and strand us.
Today's what's called the prologue. So Willis Bay Bulls, there's no scoring today. It's not competitive. What's happening is we're just kind of getting into the rhythm.
So we're running the course a few times, and it's a chance to get to know each other as a team, how we're going to communicate, all that kind of stuff. So when we actually start going faster on the closed stage tomorrow, we'll have our communication down pat.
This is my third time. My first time was 2018, and really, I can't get here enough. In fact, the first time I came here, I remember getting on FaceTime with my wife and having a real estate agent walk me through a house thinking that I should buy it on the spot. That's how much I fell in love with the island. We didn't do it, but we will eventually.
Now, I hate to put you on the spot. I have Googled you. You got a Wikipedia page, so you must be important. But could you talk a little bit about your resume, Randy?
I don't know about important, but I've been a professional road racer my entire life. And I'm really proud of some of the history. I had a Porsche driving contract, an Audi, Mazda, and Volvo. I had almost 100 professional wins in road racing, and I ran last year in Targa. That was my first event in a Mini. And this year, Paul was so kind as to offer me the opportunity to drive this vintage 911, which is one of the greatest sports cars ever. And I just couldn't say no to that.
Give us a C, give us an A, give us an R, give us an S. Cars! I've been to a lot of car shows, and it's really fun. And this is my first actual car race, and I love how we got to cheerlead for some of it.
Personally, I'm elated the Targa was back in Gander. It's been gone for a long time. Everybody I'm talking to, we're very happy that we got a chance to go around town and show our cars and have some fun and spread some car culture in Gander.
I thought it was pretty cool. It's nice to see it coming back to the communities, and I hope that it can stick around for another few years. I know myself will be volunteering for the next couple of years because that was a good time.
I got so many pictures. When they were coming down the street, I took videos.
But this one was cool too because there's a couple really loud ones.
Go on. Wave your pom-pom.
It was an unreal experience. Getting to race on these public roads, it's nothing like getting to race on the track or getting to race in autocross or anything like that. It's a completely new experience.
Unbelievable. Not like nothing I've ever experienced before in my life. You're going so fast through this small town community and tight roads, and there's people lined up on the side of the roads. It's just wicked. It's amazing.
$1 million question. Will Targa be coming back to Gander next year?
I certainly hope so. I will do everything I can in my power to do so.
Wow, looks like a fun time had by all. This is some more of the drone footage from Targa taken this weekend. So we just had to show you a little bit more of this view from the sky. Drone operator Danny Arsenault took this footage in Gander.
Sept Trucks. See your dealer for details. Tomorrow on Here and Now.
Still got that new EV smell.
Does indeed.
The town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips is going all in on electric vehicles.
We are moving in the direction to have a fully electric fleet.
But how are they putting electric cars and trucks on the road while saving a ton of green?
So these 6 vehicles and 6 charging stations cost the town about $80,000.
Buckle up for that story tomorrow on Here and Now.
Well, the TV series Shogun swept the Emmys last night and racked up 18 wins, a record for a single season. And one of those statues was awarded to makeup artist Krista Han from Paradise. She won an Emmy last week for her work on Shogun. We spoke with her about the win and what it's like working on such a successful series.
I feel like it's truly the Hollywood LA dream, the experience that I had actually. We started with hair and makeup right away. I think I woke up at 7 a.m. because I was like, I want to look right today. If this is the day to look my best, then here it is. I went over to my head of department's Airbnb where she had us all there. Rebecca Lee, I just need to give a personal shout out to her because you know what? I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for her. She truly believed in me, trusted me. Yeah. It feels like a blur. Can we just talk about this for a second? It felt like a blur because it was so fast paced. When they called our category, we were bracing because we had that momentum. So we were hopeful, and then boom, we got it. And we were all hugging each other and then went up. We didn't even know where to walk. And I was like, please don't trip, please don't trip. The nerves. Usually they give you the one statue and you pose with it and stuff. There was a whole friggin' table of Emmys. It was like a pond of Emmys. And you had to sign your name and they gave it to you. And it was just and they send you that little plaque to stick on in mail. It's in Newfoundland right now. She's back on the family mantle right there in Paradise. I said, listen, I want my whole family to see these because I don't know, it's again, an honor, word of the day to even have this. And I just wanted my whole family. I have no family here, unfortunately, but I'm chasing dreams sometimes. This is one of the sacrifices. I have no family up here, but I got a lot of great friends, but I just want all of them to see it. So they're all gone over looking at it and feeling the weight because she is heavy, okay? Before this career path, I studied naval architecture at Marine. And I was in the wrong field because I was working at Sephora part-time and that one, obviously. So in my mind, I wanted to make more luxurious boats like the yachts and stuff, but that's a very niche market. And when I got into school and started, really get into it, it was nothing like the glamour I built up in my mind. But I was working part-time at Sephora when it first opened. And they were like, Krista, we really think you have a talent for this. You can make this your career because I come in stressed out from Marine Institute and be like, oh God, I got this project due. I'm sitting down in front of a computer all day, not having the most fun. I look forward to going to work. You can make a good career at this if you put your head down, work hard. Yes, there'll be sacrifices, but you got this. So I moved. I left the program and I moved. And then literally the rest has been history because once I got out of school, my first job, I flew to New Delhi for 3 months on an amazing Bollywood production. And then now been nominated 4 times. And it's just been on a upward streak. Yeah.
Do not be fooled by our politeness.
Know what to expect of the makeup, but the makeup was very challenging in the best way possible because we would apply habu ties and habitualized like this silk bald cap, because most of the people in Shogun, I'm not sure if you guys watched it, please do if you haven't, but most of the people in Shogun were not bald. So we had to apply these like silk Japanese like bald caps every day. Our number 2 Cosmo, who was outstanding. I mean, the talent that guy has. It was such an honor to be able to spend time with him. I'm hoping that we do get Shogun season 2 and that I can go on board, because I love the energy, love the vibes, love the people.
And I'm sure this Emmy will help open even more doors for you going forward.
Yes, I believe so. I kind of downplay it in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Emmy, but like the people around me are like, you got an Emmy! Wow! Like just cheer me on, like everyone in Newfoundland and Labrador. Like, yeah, I hope so. I know so. It's gonna be great because it already is.
Such great energy. Congratulations again to Krista Han for her win at the Emmys. And we have more winners to tell you about from the Atlantic International Film Festival. Pearls won Best Atlantic Short last night. The film is about a desperate man who arrives at a logging camp in central Newfoundland only to be haunted by his past. It was directed by Mike Sims, who also works here at CBC with us. He's taking home more than $11,000 in industry services like equipment rentals and post-production help. And we are very proud of him. Congratulations, Mike. And also, the film Skeet was a big winner. Nigel Markham won Best Atlantic Cinematographer, and lead actor Sean Dalton won for Outstanding Performance, taking home $1,000 cash. The film is set in St. John's and is described by its director as being a new take on a redemption story. It follows Dalton's character after he's released from prison.
Have you ever wondered what lies in your backyard? One St. John's man who owns a heritage home downtown wants to find out.
I've always had an interest in Newfoundland architecture and old houses and things like that.
We worked together at Lanza Meadows and we were both excited about the idea. I'm Julia Israel and I'll be bringing that story to you tomorrow night on Here and Now.
Well, Ken McDonald says his constituents are struggling and they're sick of hearing that things are going to get better. The Maverick MP represents the riding of Avalon and doesn't plan to seek re-election. He told the CBC's David Thurton today that time is not on his party's side, but he also doesn't think a new leader is the answer.
You'd have to have a leadership review or leadership contestant anyway, or someone step forward, and whoever that person is that wins that particular opportunity, is it time enough for that person to sell himself or herself to Canadians before the next election?
So time has basically run out for the party, it seems, that you're saying.
I think time is getting short, very short.
What about the Liberal brand? Do you think that still endures in your riding and your part of the country in Newfoundland?
I think it do. I believe if I put my name on the ballot, I would win the election. But it'll be 10 years for me, and that's long enough. The back and forth, the travel is absolutely horrible. And you miss so many events, the family events that you're not around for. I've got grandchildren that are in sports that I don't get to see them play. And I miss that. So I'm not going to be coming back after the next election.
When you spent a summer in your riding talking to your constituents, talking to your friends and family, what are some of the issues that you've heard about and that you're going to be bringing back in the last couple of months that you are serving as an MP?
Yeah. Affordability is a huge issue in my riding, especially for seniors. I've got rural areas that people would have to drive 2 hours to buy groceries. They'd have to drive 2 hours to visit a loved one in hospital, or they'd have to drive 2 hours for a doctor's appointment. And that is not cheap today with the price of gasoline, and if you're so far away, you got to have lunch or dinner, whatever, and it adds up. And people are getting tired of listening to, I guess, promises that things are going to get better. If they're going to get better, they better get better in a hurry.
Final question, just on the carbon tax. We heard another premier, David Eby, out in BC, saying that, you know what, if the Liberals drop the requirement, he would drop his consumer carbon tax. When you hear that, he was the last premier defending this policy.
Yeah.
Is it dead? Is the carbon tax dead?
I don't think it's dead. I mean, if you look back at the last election, the Conservative Party ran on putting a price on carbon. So will they go back to that? I don't know. That'll be their platform to put together. It won't be ours.
And of course, McDonald is in Ottawa today because the fall sitting of Parliament is back in session. The minority Liberals are returning after the NDP withdrew from the supply and confidence agreement earlier this month.
We will work case by case, legislation by legislation, with whichever party wants to work with us. I have already been in touch with all of the House leaders in the opposition parties, and my job now is to make Parliament work for Canadians.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is vowing to force a non-confidence vote as soon as possible. Trudeau says his party is focused on its own legislative agenda, including the NDP-endorsed Pharmacare bill and the Online Harms Act. And staying with affordability, the Liberals are announcing changes to mortgage rules. All first-time home buyers will soon be eligible for a 30-year mortgage.
This really is about fairness for every generation. It's about making that first home more available for young Canadians, for first-time home buyers.
It will include first-time buyers of any type of house, any type of home, as well as anybody buying a newly built home. The Liberal government is also raising the level for insured mortgages, moving it from $1 million to $1.5 million. It will allow more people to qualify for a mortgage with a down payment of less than 20%. Those changes take effect on December 15th. And still in Ottawa, the second round of hearings into foreign meddling in Canada's elections started today. This phase of the inquiry will focus on what the government can do to prevent it.
While the Commission has thus far focused on the past, the hearings we are about to embark on will be more about the present and the future.
The initial phase of the inquiry determined that it was possible there was foreign interference in a small number of ridings in previous elections, but it didn't affect the overall results. More than 70 witnesses are expected to testify over the next 5 weeks, including MPs, cabinet ministers, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
I'm Adam Walsh, host and producer of The Signal. You know, when you think about climate change, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to feel a sense of despair. But when you look around, there are a lot of folks out there engaged in action, trying to make a difference. And that's where we are this week. We're having Climate Week on The Signal, Monday to Friday. The common thread, folks with the will and the want to fix the planet. So don't miss it. Climate Week on The Signal, 12:05 on the island, half an hour earlier in Labrador.
Well, it was a full house at the Powerplex Sports Center in St. John's over the weekend, and the stands were full of Filipino fans. Here Now's Henrika Wilhelm has more on a second annual Filipino basketball tournament that drew players, their friends, and their families from right across the province.
The atmosphere hard to beat.
Filipino are an avid fan of basketball.
So much so that Filipinos on the island have their own basketball association. Director Ricky Peñarubia started it in 2021, drawing on his own experience.
I came here by myself back in 2012, so I think basketball is a way for me to pretty much stay away from that homesickness away from home.
The tournament was held for the second time, bringing 10 teams from all over the island together, 180 players total.
Our conversation is always basketball. When I visit St. John's, I meet them, we play basketball. We invited them a couple of times now to visit us in Gander. We play in Gander in basketball. We talk about always basketball.
Basketball isn't the country's official national sport, but widely popular.
It's a huge part of our culture to play in a basketball. Everywhere in the Philippines, every street you can see kids growing up playing basketball. So to bring them up here, it's an honor to be part of the tournament.
More than a sport, the association's impact is visible far beyond the court.
The league has become a way for newcomers to integrate into the community and to meet new people. A lot of people are coming without families, to work, and it really gives them something to look forward to for their own mental health.
Over 5,000 Filipinos live across the province, 2,000 in the metro area alone. For them, events like this provide a community far away from home.
Especially us who traveled miles away from our home, and it's an opportunity for us to divert our longing for our family back home and enjoy it here and gather all Filipino.
You see so many different generations, you see the parents, you see some grandparents and the children, and I think it's fantastic to be part of a community that is so close-knit.
Going forward, the association has big plans.
My goal in the next 10, 20 years from now, my young kid will see this growing up and eventually they'll start to take over and just continue on for the next generation.
And Peñarubia hopes to invest even further into that next generation by eventually offering up youth training camps. Henrika Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
.org.
Well, people throughout the province got the chance to visit local farms yesterday and see firsthand where some of their food comes from. It's called Atlantic Open Farm Day, and the CBC's Emmy dropped by the Robbins family farm in Deer Lake.
Today is Atlantic Open Farm Day, and it's a day all across the Atlantic provinces where farmers may choose to open their doors to the public. People can come in and visit a working farm, see how farms operate from a day-to-day basis, and it's an opportunity to raise awareness about educating people about where their food comes from. So many people have a disconnect to where their food comes from. This is an opportunity for people to visit, as I said, farms all across Atlantic provinces. Here in Newfoundland, we have vegetable farmers and dairy farmers, and us here, we're a multi-commodity farm. Right across the province today, people are visiting farms and they're able to connect to the farmer, the people that are supplying the grocery stores, putting food on their table, and it's just, again, it's an opportunity for people to understand where their food is coming from. I just remember I had an experience once with a little girl who was so excited. At 6 years old, she didn't know that carrots had green tops and grew in the ground. And that just sort of, since then, that lit a little fire in my belly, wanted me to start educating people about where their food comes from. And it just started from there. We're always about, we want you to ask the questions, and we want you to ask the hard questions, because we do have, we might not have all the answers, but we try our best to answer them as best as we can. And, hopefully if we could just help someone learn something new every day when they visit our farm about where their food comes from and animal health, animal welfare, then that's all what it's all about.
So nice to see all those farm animals too. So sweet. Also cute, the little girl who didn't know how carrots grew. That's interesting. I remember the first time I saw how asparagus grew, and I was like,
yeah.
oh, okay, that's how asparagus, just like the stalk straight up out of the ground.
It's pretty cute.
Yeah, it's good to know where your food comes from.
Oh, it certainly is.
Okay, so we're talking about the long range forecast now. How are things looking down the road?
We're going to hang on to this warm air for a little while. So those of you that are hanging on to that little last bit of summer, you'll enjoy this forecast. Let's take a look at what's going on out there. So it will be a bit unsettled, though. So even though we're going to see some mild temperatures, it is going to come with the chance of some showers, also, some sunshine in the mix as well. So by Wednesday morning, we're looking at some showers mainly affecting the northeast coast. That will continue through the day. We should see some clearing as we head into the afternoon on Wednesday, but another round of showers moving in across Labrador. And again, we do have a more northerly flow up across Labrador, so your temperatures are actually going to drop a little bit as we head through Wednesday. So anywhere from 13 to 18 degrees. This will be the start of a cooling trend for you. But the island, you're still hanging on to some nice temperatures. Northern Peninsula, you'll be in the high teens. But other than that, we should reach a high near 22 to 24 degrees across the island. And again, the better chance of showers will be in the evening for the west. But hang on to those showers along the northeast coast for the first part of the day. Now, as we get into Thursday, this area of low pressure is going to continue to track across the island. It could bring some periods of rain with it as well. Some of them may be a bit heavy at times. That will continue through the day, and most of Thursday will be unsettled across the island. Labrador again, more northerly flow in behind that area of low pressure, chances of showers, and also that cooler air. You will likely see some clearing though through the evening hours. Temperatures will hang out in the single digits for northern portions of Labrador along the coast as well. Otherwise, around 13 degrees for the rest of the Big Land. Northern Peninsula, similar temperatures, but again, another mild day across the island. 21 to 24 degrees as your daytime highs. A little cooler, though, along southern areas of the island. Around 18 degrees for Port aux Basques and 22 for Marystown. Now, if we take a look at the long-range forecast, Friday we're going to hang on to the 20-degree temperatures as well, but then we start to see a dip back down below seasonable, so about 9 degrees for your Friday evening. And then Saturday, unsettled with a chance of showers, 13 degrees. And again, overnight lows will dip into the single digits for your Saturday. That trend will continue through the weekend. It looks like there are some models that are pointing at another warm up by the time we get to next week again. But we're going to have to keep an eye on that one. For now, unsettled weekend right across central Newfoundland as well, with temperatures between 12 to 13 degrees and overnight lows around 8. Western Newfoundland, similar forecasts with periods of rain or chances of showers between 12 to 13 degrees and overnight lows between 7 and 8. And then for Eastern Labrador, you are also looking at that cool down continuing with the chance of showers right through Saturday. A little nicer for Lab West, though, with daytime highs between 14 to 15 degrees and just some cloudy periods. Our photo today, it's a dramatic photo of a foggy morning near Deer Lake. Jim shared this great shot of his backyard. Love this photo, Jim. Thank you so much for that. If you have any weather photos, you can send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca. Looks like a painting, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. It is beautiful. Or a postcard or something. Very nice shot, Jim. Thank you so much.
Yes, we love it. Well, thank you for spending part of your evening with us. But before we go, we wanted to share some more of those great scenes through Central.
Yes, we just love the drone footage. Just have a look at this. This is taken by one of our CBC drone operators, Danny Arsenault, over the weekend. It's a whole different vantage point, seeing the Targa racers whipping and weaving through residential and suburban streets from high in the sky. And 16 teams are competing this year. They come from across Canada and the US and from as far away as Germany. Drivers are expected to cover about 2,000 kilometers.
Yes, we're going to leave you with these shots tonight from in and around Gander. We hope you can join us again tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.